Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Yeah, so welcome back to our second session. That is the afternoon session of day one. We really had very interesting talks in the morning, research presentations. So let's continue with that. So today afternoon, we are going to have three separate sub-sessions. So the first one is keynote address by Dr. Gopal Pingali. Gopal is here. Welcome, Dr. Gopal. After that, we are going to have short paper presentations. And finally, we are going to have a tutorial by a senior person, Dr. Manjunath from Wipro. So let's get going. So I am Dr. Sanjay Chitnis. I am one of the volunteer for CCEM conference for past couple of years. And now today I am the session chair along with Dr. Raj Tumuluri. Dr. Raj is also here. So I work in Dayanand Sagar University, and Dr. Raj Tumuluri is founder and president CEO of OpenStream in US. So Raj, you are there. You can say hi.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, hi everybody. Yeah, so let's get going. So just a quick introduction, right? So as you all know that all these technologies galloping forth, leap and bounds, we always feel that there should be some balancing act in terms of sustainability. So Dr. Gopal, who is today's our keynote speaker, has founded a very unique company, cYAAG. So he's a founder and CEO of that, which works on making everybody a social entrepreneur. So he's internationally renowned technology, innovation, and transformation executive with extensive experience in driving digital transformation across multiple industries, leveraging cloud, AI, automation technologies, etc. So currently, as I said, he is CEO and founder of cYAAG, a cloud and AI startup whose vision is to make everyone a social entrepreneur to create a sustainable world. Right. So Gopal has pioneered innovations in many areas, including multi-cloud management, cognitive automation, continuous security, mobile web, electronic chronicles, real-time video tracking systems, smart interactive spaces, etc. Prior to this, he was Global Vice President of IBM for Cloud Transformation and Global Technology Services Labs. And prior to that, he was research leader at IBM TJ Watson Research Center and AT&T Bell Labs as well. He obtained his PhD degree in computer science and engineering from the University of Michigan. Okay, so welcome, Gopal. We are eager to hear you. So over to you, please.
Thank you very much, Sanjay, for that generous introduction. And good afternoon, good morning, good evening to all of you around the world who are joining here. So my talk today will be on sustainable development as the biggest challenge and opportunity for the next decade. So this is, I am talking about this as much as a founder of cYAAG, as a founder of CCEM. And it's really about CCEM that I'm going to talk about in this talk, and about this conference and where it needs to go, and my view and vision for all of us. So here it's CCEM, Cloud Computing in Emerging Markets picture. We had a virtual lamp lighting ceremony this morning. We had a real one in all prior years, and this was the very first one. And if you see this here, it is from October 11th and 12th, 2012, when we inaugurated this conference, and I had the privilege of starting this conference and being its first chair. So that was in 2012, and here we are in 2020. And so a lot has changed since then. And so let's go through some of the biggest changes as technologists and cloud users around the world. Some of the changes: WhatsApp, 2012 did not exist. Today, it's 2 billion active users. People online on desktops, 47 minutes a day in 2012. It has actually come down now. It is only 38 minutes a day in 2020 that people are online on desktops. However, on mobiles, 36 minutes a day in 2012, 143 minutes a day in 2020. So the overall time we are spending online has significantly gone up. It's more than doubled. And this is per capita worldwide, these figures I'm giving you for online time. So each person on the average around the world, man, woman, and child, is spending this much time. And data that we are generating on this planet is estimated to be 6.5 zettabytes in 2012, and 7% of that was in cloud. And now in 2020, worldwide, we are producing 59 zettabytes of data, and 30% of that is in cloud. We are producing through so many devices, so many things, enterprises. 30% of it is already in cloud, and with that growth, you can see how cloud has grown in these last 8 years. And we had the other big revolution, 4G, 32 million subscribers in 2012. Now it's 1.8 billion subscribers. Mobile payments, we have seen that revolution happening in front of our eyes in the last few years. $171.5 billion through mobile payments, then $1.2 trillion now. Uber didn't or barely started that year. It did 1.9 billion trips per quarter by the beginning of 2020. And you know what happened this year. It has fallen to about 737 billion trips per quarter now. But see what's happening there. A cloud service. Kubernetes did not exist. Now 84% enterprises who have adopted cloud and cloud applications have adopted containers. AWS Lambda did not exist. Now 50% of AWS users have adopted Lambda, and serverless has become the theme of the day. So these are some of the biggest changes that have been happening. And we are moving to the next phase of cloud, where it's really cloud is moving to the edge in various ways. First of all, public clouds are coming onto premise. So public and private is becoming indistinguishable as it comes to premise. And it's extending into metro areas and cities, and more through telco carriers into 5G to the mobile edge. And then both IoT enabling cloud and cloud enabling IoT. So this IoT edge cloud, and then this whole notion of anybody can be a cloud provider, and you have clouds, a community of clouds that you can log on to or access just like Wi-Fi everywhere, network edge cloud. So all this is happening as we speak, and these are the next things that we are going into towards a distributed cloud continuum. And in all this, we in CCEM have been playing a role, and we have seen the changes. And the biggest change we are seeing now this year is the impact of COVID-19 on cloud computing. And if you look at this, while it has disrupted so many things in so many ways, the impact from cloud computing has been tremendously positive. All enterprises are realizing that for cost reasons, for growth reasons, for survival reasons, many reasons, that they now have to move into a cloud model much more rapidly. So you can see this survey where most enterprises, most respondents, enterprise and small medium businesses, are saying it's a high priority for them to move to cloud. So $371 billion is the market in 2020 for cloud, and it's expected to get to $832 billion by 2025. And this is one area that is really accelerating. And CCEM has been part of driving and participating in all these revolutions that have happened over the last 8 years. And we have seen 1,000+ research papers come through this conference. We have seen 200+ startups come through this conference. There are, over time, we started introducing more and more student projects. 100+ student projects have been presented prime time in this conference. And more recently, more and more techno-biz plans, 50+ techno-biz plans have been presented. We have had 30+ research theses, PhD and masters, presented here. And we have had a pre-conference mentoring workshop that we introduced that really is looking at building a community, building that culture, a research culture, innovation culture, providing that mentoring, and providing a friendly ground where people can grow and explore and make their ideas and research world-class. So all of these we have been doing, and we have had this keyword, emerging markets, that will make a difference in terms of emerging markets, both for and from emerging markets. And this is the theme that CCEM has been about. So we have come to 2020, and we are going now into the next decade as we head towards the next 10 years, towards 2030. So really my theme for this talk was, how should we think about this coming years? What is the role we should play? What next? So we have come, there are a lot of things we have achieved. There is so much more we can do, but what is the direction we should take? So this, friends and colleagues, will be the main emphasis of my talk for the next 15 minutes. So there is a framework, there is a way we can address this area. And for me, that is what are called the global goals for 2030. These are most of you may be aware, but to reiterate, these are the goals that are called Sustainable Development Goals. They are in these 17 major areas that you see on the screen, going from no poverty to zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, and so on, right? Climate action, and how we drive sustainable cities and communities, all these topics. And all United Nations member states have adopted these goals in 2015 as goals for 2030 to achieve a world in which people are prosperous and are at peace and have economic growth and have prosperity. And this is the goals, I think, especially for us as CCEM, give a very good framework that we can take on. The other side of it, is it just philanthropy or it's just a good thing to do? There is a lot of analysis has been done here. It is a huge business opportunity. It is not just philanthropy. It's estimated to be a $12 trillion opportunity for the private sector by 2030. And these are in these major areas that you see here: food and agriculture, cities, energy and materials, health and well-being. Each of these areas have a number of focus areas that are both needed from a people, planet, and also from a profit perspective, because there is a huge business opportunity around this. And this is the $12 trillion opportunity is majorly driven by these areas. And at the same time, this is extremely relevant to CCEM and the theme that we have taken, because more than half the value of these SDG business opportunities arises in developing countries. So these four major areas I talked about, you can see that in each of those areas, there are worldwide opportunities, but in each of the areas, agriculture 71%, cities 52%, energy and materials 54%, and health and well-being 60% of the opportunity, business opportunity, is in developing countries. And so emerging markets can really take a leadership role, both in developing, validating, and proving these technologies, and taking them to the rest of the world and making them successful, both in terms of proven technology and very good price points. So we have a huge opportunity here. The other side I would emphasize is that there is a big job creation opportunity here as well. There are estimated 380 million jobs that could be created by these SDG business opportunities. And again, the majority, not surprisingly, is going to be in Asia and Africa and the developing countries, as you can see through these visuals here. So clearly, there is a big opportunity for us. And where do we stand with respect to achievement of these goals? They were started in 2015, and we have the trajectory towards 2030. Recently, United Nations published a report on the status of the goals. And since it was the middle of this year, they also took into account the impact, as you can see very well from this picture, the impact of COVID-19 on these trajectories and where we are going as well. So I'll call out some of the highlights from this report because it's very relevant to us. So if we are off track, we were off track to end poverty by 2030. We were only going to reduce it from 15.7% to 60% with the trajectory we were on. But the COVID-19 is reversing that trajectory. And there is the first increase in global poverty in decades. 71 million people are pushed into extreme poverty in 2020. So this is the impact that is having. Food insecurity was already increasing. We were off track, it was increasing. And now this pandemic has made it even worse. 40 to 85% of all food producers in developing regions are hit hard by this crisis. The health, you can very well imagine this has become the biggest, most relevant topic today. What is most important than our health? And in the wake of a pandemic, we see that even more. Progress in many health areas continued, but really needs acceleration. This acceleration, to me, is a key word for our community. So this pandemic has reversed decades of improvements, and yet I think there is a huge opportunity on how to change the game. We'll come back to that. The world continues to use natural resources unsustainably. That's been a big area as well. And global material footprint has been increasing, the 85.9 billion metric tons by 2017. That was the last report. One of the problems is we don't have data, the latest data on that. It's not easy to collect data. And electronic waste in this time grew by 38%, but less than 20% is recycled. With all those trends we saw from 2012 to 2020, it's no surprise that our electronic waste has been growing, but then we have not been recycling. And but there are plans, there is opportunity to build a more sustainable future. Now, the other education, equitable education for all was too slow, and over 200 million children are still out of school in 2020. And with this pandemic, you know the challenges. 90% of all students are kept out of school. It seems to be a time to redefine how education is delivered and is seen and integrated into our lives. So, and overall, the economic growth has been slowing down, and it's hit hard again by this pandemic. The other thing this report called out, and it's extremely relevant to us, is the need for data innovations. It in fact started with that. This report said the importance of timely, quality, open, and disaggregated data and statistics has never been as clear as during the COVID-19 crisis. Because we are in a crisis, we need it, but it is really needed to achieve and track these SDGs as well. So this is what is happening. And the question to us then is, what can we do as this community? And so these are the quick thoughts that I have that I will share with you. It is as much a topic that you all will have thoughts on. Here are my quick thoughts on this. To me, in the midst of all this, there are some key things that we bring to the table, the key trends that are happening, that some offer the secrets to what we can do here. One, I would say, is how much time people are spending on social media. This is the latest statistic from Digital 2020. 3.96 billion people are spending 2.4 hours a day on this planet on social media, and new things keep coming. That is nearly 9.5 billion hours a day are spent on social media. Are we converting even 0.01 or 0.001% of this into impact that is meaningful and purposeful living? So this is one secret. There is the weapon is there. There's huge connection, community, framework, infrastructure. How do we use even a fraction of that for impact? Another secret I see is students all over the world, because it is people, community, the youth, the students that are going to take the lead on making a difference. India alone has 3.2 million enrolled engineering students. This is October 2020 report. 880,000 of them are enrolled in computer science, and all these are allied fields. And on top of that, we have 360,000 MBA students that are enrolled in India alone. Just think of what we can do as a community if these people turn their attention to impact. The other big secret is we are entering the era of IoT. If data has to proliferate, if we need to monitor everything, if we need to act, and if we need to translate everything in based on data and action, it is going to be the devices that we put out there, in addition to the people, that is going to make it happen. It's growing at a 38% compound annual growth rate. We expect to see 500 billion connected devices by 2030. It's about 20 billion now. So that's the other secret. And so what I think we need to do is have a CCEM SDG initiative, because CCEM should become the world's premier conference in cloud, AI, big data, and IoT technologies for sustainable development goals. We should be maniacally turning our technologies into measurable, trackable, data-driven difference in achievement of sustainable development goals. This is the global goals for our planet for the next 10 years. I think this gives us a great way to go forward. We need to translate SDGs into CCEM grant challenges for these areas. Here, only very initial thoughts, some of the biggest things. We know all industries or all applications have a carbon footprint, and we need to get it down to 0 by 2030. How do we make that happen? How can we track everything in the cloud? How can we have a cloud paradigm and infrastructure to track the carbon footprint of every industrial application in real time? I think that's a grand challenge. In the wake of the pandemic, how do you get massive telemedicine to the edge in terms of, it needs every part of what we can think of. It needs diagnosis, it needs data collection, it needs video conferencing, it needs virtual agents, it needs to increase the doctor to patient ratio, it needs virtual conversations, conversational intelligence. Every aspect we can think of comes into this challenge. And how does all our technology come together to change medicine dramatically? Is it just taking care of problems when there is disease? Or can we take all the devices, everything that we have today, into a real-time intelligent health navigator that propels our way to good health all the time? That's another challenge, both in terms of data collection and delivery at the edge, and all driven by a cloud and AI in the back end. And the other thing that I'm thinking about is cloud-enabled integrated communities for a post-COVID world. Is it cities that we'll have going forward? How many offices will really survive? Is it time to say, now that the world has gone digital, it is really a rural model? What is this evolved rural model that brings education, health, and office work, everything into much more pandemic resilient and productive next generation communities that are clean in terms of sustainability and energy, all driven by a new cloud and AI driven community paradigm? Can we create such communities? I think that is a huge opportunity. So there is no end to the grand challenges we can throw in this space. And the most important, I think, to drive all this is we need to become the seed of a worldwide innovation community for impact. We can drive focused innovation driven by the definition of the problems that need to be addressed without reinventing the wheel. We can lead the world in terms of data sets and validation because we have the numbers, we have the ability to create a community that takes thousands, even millions of people collecting data and validating data and focusing on the way forward. And when there are proven impact solutions, we can accelerate their adoption. And we can drive this through an open innovation platform. So these are all the things we can do. And this is an area where there is a lot of investment. Impact investing, as it is called, was 114 billion in 2016. It has grown to 502 billion in 2018, and it's 715 billion in 2020. So this is a growing investment area. So it's also a huge opportunity in that aspect. The last couple of minutes, I will point out that there is already good work going on in this space that is inspiring. I will quickly show 2-3 examples. Here, right in the city where we are talking from, Bangalore, there is a company called Hasiru Dala that has taken waste pickers and converted them into an end-to-end waste management service that dramatically reduces waste, 1345 tons of waste responsibly managed per month. And they're at the same time creating employment for underprivileged community. And they're running today in Indian rupees a 22 crore revenue generating business a year. There are other examples as well. Here is financial literacy and microcredit taken to the doorsteps of rural India by Rang De. Here's another example. Drones connecting people to healthcare, taking it to the most remote areas and having all the planning, all the capability behind that to, especially in the light of this pandemic and these kind of situations, delivering healthcare there. And here is another company that is Blue Sky Analytics that is doing data backbone of sustainable economy, easy to integrate APIs for developers so that researchers, businesses, governments can have all the data they need to plan harvesting, plan climate changes, and farm and forest fires, all these kind of areas. So there are many initiatives taking place. And so we have the opportunity to make this happen, both in terms of research, both in terms of data collection, most importantly, going forward as leading this community through CCEM. So here is my conclusion. My key messages really are, I think we have a framework. Achieving SDGs is a world priority for the coming decade, and that can be a priority we take up. And among all conferences in this world, CCEM can take the leadership as the world's premier conference in cloud AI, big data, IoT for SDGs. And the time is now. We should act now. And my call is that you all join the CCEM SDG initiative and make a difference. And we can all do this together. And we have just announced on the CCEM homepage a link where you can join the CCEM SDG initiative. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks a lot, Gopal, for really inspiring thought. These SDGs have become really a good rallying point for all aspects, right? Whether it's government or industry or social sector, right? Even students, a lot of students do student projects in SDGs areas, right? So thanks for this. Now we have time for a few questions. So you can either put it in questions tab, right-hand side you have, or raise your hand and our host will bring you to the stage and you can ask directly to Gopal. Yeah, while people get ready, let me ask one question, Gopal. It's specific to our country, India. You have global perspective, right? You had worked in global industries. But Suma, I feel that India, our government has been reporting, right? There has been, I think, annual reporting of where we stand with SDGs. And our India's performance had been very dismal somehow, right? So I just wanted to know what could be the reason why we have such a bad performance. Yeah.
I think it's dependent on these. First of all, these are very challenging goals, right? These are very challenging goals, and they need collective action. They need focus. They need data, and one can come up with many reasons for why we have not made as much progress as we can. But I think it's also the SDGs are going to be achieved only if India achieves them. There's no way the planet is going to achieve them without India making a step forward. So this is as much a responsibility and a challenge to all of us, not just looking at the government or others and saying, why is it not making progress, but bringing technology, bringing data, bringing a very focused effort around this. I think we can really make a difference there. And I think the key really is this community of students, faculty, and innovators, professionals coming together. Sure. We can create a multi-million person community that makes a difference. And if we provide the structure to that and the data-driven approach to that, that is the only way we can move forward.
Sure. Thanks. Actually, yeah. Dr. Shekhar Babu has a question.
Dr. Gopal, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So first, I really want to congratulate you for giving a totally new spin to the whole CCEM. Not only the conference but the but the initiative. So that's really nice that you're giving a total new spin to it, and it's the right spin, and it's a wonderful spin. The whole SDG. In fact, very coincidental. My PhD dissertation is on corporate social responsibility.
Yeah.
A few years back. So CSR is obviously one of the initiatives right under SDG. So I understand that the initiative that you're bringing, the challenge that you're bringing to the table, saying that, okay, it's all various technologies. How can you embrace under SDG? But I think the other aspect, the important aspect to this is how can not just technology but also social scientists, um, scientists who are not just from the computing community, the non-computing social sciences community, they play a vital role in this whole thing. And many of them are non-computing aspect. Many of these initiatives are actually driven um, by academicians and not just practitioners, but a lot of academicians across the world, across in developing nations. And the problems of developing nations are very different than the problems of a developed nation in the SDG. So India's SDG problems are very different than America's SDG problem. So keeping that in mind, can you throw some light, keeping in mind of the CCEM and the initiative that you have challenged us, and which I'm very happy to be part of for the next decade, keeping that in mind.
Yes, Dr. Shekhar Babu, and really thank you for your leadership in CCEM and for all that you've been doing and bringing hundreds of students to participate and take leadership. I couldn't agree more. I was just emphasizing the engineering students as a statistical data point, but I was, as I said right there are 380,000 MBA students, and this is one area where all fields need to come together. It is very multidisciplinary. I couldn't agree more that we need to bring that multidisciplinary approach to this. It is how people come together and focus. That is our opportunity. I think we have these last 8 years created a platform through CCEM. We can really take it into the next level. We can do monthly meetups on these SDG goals. We can drive a very strong community I do see those three aspects. One is first the problem definition itself, and a lot of it comes from social scientists and the people in the field and NGOs and CSR and people saying these are the problems that need to be addressed. And then there is the innovation that everybody needs to bring to the table to address the problem without reinventing the wheel. So if you have the right open innovation platform, we will be able to say we are not reinventing the wheel, we are focusing on the problem and tracking progress towards it. And then there is data. How do you collect data, especially if you have a solution? How do you validate it? How do you adapt it to the field and make sure it is working? And then there are, like the many examples we are giving, there are proven solutions today. Very few people are aware and adopting them. We can be a community that accelerates their impact and takes them to where they need to be, whether it is IoT sensors to farmers, or whether it is the slums in urban areas getting new technologies for sustainability, or many people being aware of their carbon footprint, all of these, and telemedicine. These are things that we can make happen with proven solutions being adopted, and we can track that progress. That is very exciting because we can make it happen. And again, it's very interdisciplinary.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Yeah, so time is, I think, running out. So your last question, this is from Sai Sampath from IBM. Is asking, COVID situation is defining new steps towards de-globalization. Do SDG initiatives are specific to a country?
No, they are by definition global goals. This is where the world comes together. This was the vision all along. Of course, given the complex world we live in, each country has to take its initiative, and there's so many roles. But again, these are global goals. We are one planet, especially as we look at things like the pandemic or things like our climate, our health, and our sustainability, energy. These are global issues. And again, the advantage of a technical community and a conference like this is that we can take a global perspective and a very data-driven and share best practices across the world and wherever they come from, and accelerate that propagation of the best ideas to all over the world. That acceleration, if there's one message, it is acceleration, that I would say. And again, the link to the the CCEM SDG initiative is live on the homepage. It's very prominent. Please go and register yourselves there if you think this is a good idea and you want to participate in this. It will be good to hear directly. Then we can grow this community and make it happen over the next few weeks and months.
Sure.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead,
Gopal.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really nice that you are kind of proposing that on the human development front, we all need to be on the cutting edge in terms of where to focus our energies. On the technological front, we need to be focused on where the action is actually hot in terms of cloud computing or IoT or big data analytics or machine learning. My question is this: while India has the Atmanirbharta initiative, and of late they had supported in a very big way a lot of initiatives to indigenize the usage of these technologies for development within India communities. What kind of trends are happening across the world? Are there similar initiatives elsewhere? Well, if United Nations has all these lofty goals which are 3 years back, how have they progressed until now? Where else is the action?
Yeah, it's a long answer to that question, but the short answer is it is indeed. The good news is that all member nations of the United Nations, all member states of the United Nations have collectively adopted these goals and committed to them. Each country is providing a progress report on these goals. And you can, if you go through the reports, I just gave you the global summary. Each of those you have by country. And of course, there are countries in which you don't get data. Data is one of the biggest challenges that is we need to address as a community. But short answer is they are tracked by nation, and you have progress cards and reports for every nation.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So sorry, but I think time is running out. We have very short time, just 30 minutes. I think it's a very vast field. So thank you, Gopal, for introducing us to this exciting topic. And this is a really call for action, taking all this forward. So I suppose almost everybody register on the homepage for this initiative. So thank you very
Gopal.
much. Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you very
Gopal.
much.
Thank you, Dr. Gopal. We now end this session and move on to next session, which is research short papers.
Yeah, sure. So we have 2 research short papers. The first is sequential pluralization through chromatic operatives in connected IoT sensors topology. So it is by authors from IBM, Harish Bharati, Rajesh Saxena, Sandeep Sukhija, and Deepak Bajaj. So,
yes, Professor Sanjay, we will bring them onto the stage.
Sure, fine.